details, and um, I got to go in and I researched some of the things that he had mentioned. My goodness, so much, very interesting actually. So it is without, and it's a long chapter. We will try to break it and then get back so that doesn't get too monotonous and keep sitting and. So we will take a break at 15th minute, discuss a bit, and then, or possible, we will go for the rest of
Jayanti, your voice is very low.
it. Slow. Now,
Speak again.
now,
This is better.
I think there's a problem with that. Probably, I was wearing that. So, without wasting much time, let us start with a prayer. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great masters of Kriya Yoga, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Gurudev, Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, dear friend and guide Swami Kriyananda, humbly we bow at thy feet. O great ones, help us to tune into thy consciousness. Help us to expand our consciousness, to understand that this life, this realm that we see around us, is not really the reality. Help us to go beyond this and understand who we truly are. What is our true potential? Guide us, help us, bless us, be with us always. And today, as we dive into this chapter, guide our thoughts, our understanding to what you want us to understand through this chapter today. We are thine, be thou eternally ours. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yogananda, 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 Paramahansa Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, Yogananda, Yogananda. Yogananda, 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 Paramahansa Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, 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 Yogananda. Yogananda, Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, 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 Yogananda. Just for a moment, let us call out to our Master, tune into his consciousness, open our hearts, receive him there. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So let's now start reading this chapter. It's a lovely chapter, actually.
Just give me 2 minutes.
One, an Idyl in South India. You are the first Westerner, Dick, ever to enter that shrine. Many others have tried in vain. At my words, Mr. Wright looked startled, then pleased. We had just left the beautiful Chamundi temple in the hills overlooking Mysore in southern India. There we had bowed before the gold and silver altars of the goddess Chamundi, patron deity of the family of the reigning Maharaja. As a souvenir of the unique honor, Mr. Wright said, carefully stowing away a few blessed rose petals, I will always preserve this flower, sprinkled by the priest with rose water. My companion and I were spending the month of November 1935 as guests of the state of Mysore. The Maharaja, His Highness Sri Krishnaraja Wadiyar IV, is a model prince with intelligent devotion to his people. A pious Hindu, the Maharaja has empowered a Mohammedan, the able Mirza Ismail, as his Dewan or Premier. Popular representation is given to the 7 million inhabitants of Mysore in both an assembly and a legislative council. The heir to the Maharaja, His Highness the Yuvaraja, Sri Sri Krishna Nasingharaj Wadiyar, had invited my secretary and me to visit his enlightened and progressive realm. During the past fortnight, I had addressed thousands of Mysore citizens and students at the town hall, the Maharaja's College, the University Medical School, and 3 mass meetings in Bangalore at the National High School, the Intermediate College, and the Chpt Town Hall, where over 3,000 persons had assembled. Whether the eager listeners had been able to credit the glowing picture I drew of America, I know not, but the applause had always been loudest when I spoke of the mutual benefits that could flow from exchange of the best features in East and West. Mr. Wright and I were now relaxing in the tropical peace. His travel diary gives the following account of, quote, brilliantly green rice fields, varied by tasseled sugarcane patches, nestle at the protective foot of rocky hills, hills dotting the emerald panorama like excrescences of black stone, and the play of colors is enhanced by the sudden and dramatic disappearance of the sun as it seeks rest behind the solemn hills. Many rapturous moments have been spent in gazing almost absent-mindedly at the ever-changing canvas of God stretched across the firmament, for his touch alone is able to produce colors that vibrate with the freshness of life. That youth of colors is lost when man tries to imitate with mere pigments, for the Lord resorts to a more simple and effective medium, oils that are neither oils nor pigments, but mere rays of light. He tosses a splash of light here, and it reflects red. He waves the brush again, and it blends gradually into orange and gold. Then, with a piercing thrust, he stabs the clouds with a streak of purple that leaves a ringlet or fringe of red oozing out of the wound in the clouds. And so on and on. He plays night and morning alike, ever changing, ever new, ever fresh. No patterns, no duplicates, no colors, just the same. The beauty of the Indian change in day to night is beyond compare elsewhere. Often the sky looks as if God had taken all the colors in his kit and given them one mighty kaleidoscopic toss into the heavens. I must relate the splendor of a twilight visit to the huge Krishnarajasagar Dam, constructed 12 miles outside of Mysore. Yoganandaji and I boarded a small bus and, with a small boy as official cranker or battery substitute, we started off over a smooth dirt road just as the sun was setting on the horizon and squashing like an overripe tomato. Our journey led past the omnipresent square rice fields and through a line of comforting banyan trees, in between a grove of towering coconut palms with vegetation nearly as thick as in a jungle. And finally, approaching the crest of a hill, we came face to face with an immense artificial lake, reflecting the stars and fringe of palms and other trees, surrounded by lovely terraced gardens and a row of electric lights on the brink of the dam, and below it our eyes met a dazzling spectacle of colored beams playing on geyser-like fountains, like so many streams of brilliant ink pouring forth, gorgeously blue waterfalls, arresting red cataracts, green and yellow sprays, elephants spouting water, a miniature of the Chicago World's Fair, and yet modernly outstanding in this ancient land of paddy fields and simple people, who have given us such a loving welcome that I fear it will take more than my strength to bring Yoganandaji back to America. Another rare privilege, my first elephant ride. Yesterday the Yuvaraja invited us to his summer palace to enjoy a ride on one of his elephants, an enormous beast. I mounted a ladder provided to climb aloft to the howdah or saddle, which is silk-cushioned and box-like, and then for a rolling, tossing, swaying, and heaving down into a gully, too much thrilled to worry or exclaim, but hanging on for dear life." End quote. Southern India, rich with historical and archaeological remains, is a land of definite and yet indefinable charm. To the north of Mysore is the largest native state in India, Hyderabad, a picturesque plateau cut by the mighty Godavari River. Broad, fertile plains, the lovely Nilgiris or Blue Mountains, other regions with barren hills of limestone or granite. Hyderabad history is long, colorful, starting 3,000 years ago under the Andhra kings, and continuing under Hindu dynasties until AD 1294, when it passed on to a line of Muslim rulers who reign to this day. The most breathtaking display of architecture, sculpture and painting in all India is found at Hyderabad in the ancient rock-sculptured caves of Ellora and Ajanta. The Kailasha at Ellora, a huge monolithic temple, possesses carved figures of gods, men and beasts in the stupendous proportions of a Michelangelo. Ajanta is the site of 5 cathedrals and 25 monasteries, all rock excavations maintained by tremendous frescoed pillars on which artists and sculptors have immortalized their genius. Hyderabad city is graced by the Osmania University and by the imposing Mecca Masjid Mosque, where 10,000 Mohammedans may assemble for prayer. Mysore State, too, is a scenic wonderland, 3,000 feet above sea level, abounding in dense tropical forests, the home of wild elephants, bison, bears, panthers, and tigers. Its two chief cities, Bangalore and Mysore, are clean, attractive, with many parks and public gardens. Hindu architecture and sculpture achieved their highest perfection in Mysore under the patronage of Hindu kings from the 11th to the 15th centuries. The temple at Belur, an 11th century masterpiece, completed during the reign of King Vishnuvardhana, is unsurpassed in the world for its delicacy of detail and exuberant imagery. The rock pillars found in northern Mysore date from the 3rd century BC, illuminating the memory of King Ashoka. He succeeded to the throne of the Maurya dynasty then prevailing. His empire included nearly all of modern India, Afghanistan, and Baluchistan. This illustrious emperor, considered even by Western historians to have been an incomparable ruler, has left the following wisdom on a rock memorial. Quote, "This religious inscription has been engraved in order that our sons and grandsons may not think a new conquest is necessary, that they may not think conquest by the sword deserves the name of conquest, that they may see in it nothing but destruction and violence, that they may consider nothing as true conquest save the conquest of religion. Such conquests have value in this world and the next." End quote. Ashoka was a grandson of the formidable Chandragupta Maurya, known to the Greeks as Xanthrocotus, who in his youth had met Alexander the Great. Later, Chandragupta destroyed the Macedonian garrisons left in India, defeated the invading Greek army of Seleucus in the Punjab, and then received at his Patna court the Hellenic ambassador Megasthenes. Intensely interesting stories have been minutely recorded by Greek historians and others who accompanied or followed after Alexander in his expedition to India. The narratives of Arrian, Diodorus, Plutarch, and Strabo the geographer have been translated by Dr. J. W. McCrindle to throw a shaft of light on ancient India. The most admirable feature of Alexander's unsuccessful invasion was the deep interest he displayed in Hindu philosophy and in the yogis and the holy men whom he encountered from time to time and whose society he eagerly sought. Shortly after the Greek warrior had arrived in Taxila in northern India, he sent a messenger, Onesicritos, a disciple of the Hellenic school of Diogenes, to fetch an Indian teacher, Dandamis, a great sannyasi of Taxila. "Hail to thee, O teacher of Brahmins," Onesicritos said after seeking out Dandamis in his forest retreat. "The son of the mighty god Zeus, being Alexander, who is the sovereign lord of all men, asks you to go to him, and if you comply, he will reward you with great gifts. But if you refuse, he will cut off your head." The yogi received this fairly compulsive invitation calmly, and did not so much as lift up his head from his couch of leaves. "I also am a son of Zeus, if Alexander be such," he commented. "I want nothing that is Alexander's, for I am content with what I have, while I see that he wanders with his men over sea and land for no advantage, and is never coming to an end of his wanderings. Go and tell Alexander that God the Supreme King is never the author of insolent wrong, but is the creator of light, of peace, of life, of water, of the body of man, and of souls. He receives all men when death sets them free, being in no way subject to evil disease. He alone is the God of my homage, who abhors slaughter and instigates no wars. Alexander is no god, since he must taste of death, continued the sage in quiet scorn. How can such as he be the world's master, when he has not yet seated himself on a throne of inner universal dominion? Neither, as yet, has he entered living into Hades, nor does he know the course of the sun through the central regions of the earth, while the nations on its boundaries have not so much as heard his name. End quote. After this chastisement, surely the most caustic ever sent to assault the ears of the Lord of the world, the sage added ironically, if Alexander's present dominions be not capacious enough for his desires, let him cross the Ganges river. There he will find a region able to sustain all his men, if the country on this side be too narrow to hold him. Know this, however, that what Alexander offers and the gifts he promises are things to me utterly useless. The things I prize and find of real use and worth are these leaves which are my house, these blooming plants which supply me with daily food, and the water which is my drink, while all other possessions which are amassed with anxious care are wont to prove ruinous to those who gather them, and cause only sorrow and vexation, with which every poor mortal is fully fraught. As for me, I lie upon the forest leaves, and having nothing which requires guarding, close my eyes in tranquil slumber, whereas, had I anything to guard, that would banish sleep. The earth supplies me with everything, even as a mother her child with milk. I go where I please, and there are no cares with which I am forced to cumber myself. Should Alexander cut off my head, he cannot also destroy my soul. My head alone, then silent, will remain, leaving the body like a torn garment upon the earth, whence also it was taken. I, then, becoming spirit, shall ascend to my God, who enclosed us all in flesh, and left us upon earth to prove whether, when here below, we shall live obedient to his ordinances, and who also will require of us all, when we depart hence to his presence, an account of our life, since he is judge of all proud wrongdoing. For the groans of the oppressed become the punishment of the oppressor. Let Alexander then terrify with these threats those who wish for wealth and who dread death, for against us these weapons are both alike powerless. The Brahmins neither love gold nor fear death. Go then and tell Alexander this. Dandamis has no need of aught that is yours, and therefore will not go to you, and if you want anything from Dandamis, come you to him. With close attention, Alexander received through Onasikraitos the message from the yogi, and, quote, felt a stronger desire than ever to see Dandamis, who, though old and naked, was the only antagonist in whom he, the conqueror of many nations, had met more than his match. Alexander invited to Taxila a number of Brahmin ascetics noted for their skill in answering philosophical questions with pithy wisdom. An account of the verbal skirmish is given by Plutarch. Alexander himself framed all the questions.
Pause here. Let us go back. That is a beautiful story of Alexander. But let us start with where he receives the invite from the Maharaja of Mysore. And this Maharaja, as he says, Sri Krishna Raja Warrior IV, he was a very, very able administrator. And as we know that initially it was with the Hindu kings, and then Tipu Sultan took over for that period. And then later on, when the British took back, or I mean, killed him and took back his empire, then they divided it into four uh, princely states and Mysore. So this was under British, but they were given a little bit of autonomy to run their state as, a princely state. And that is how Master says that, he had 7 million inhabitants and he was running it as a democracy. So there was an assembly and a legislative council, and he had done a lot of development for that. He had banned untouchability, he had banned child marriages. So he was a very progressive ruler in that, within what the British allowed him to rule. And his heir that he is saying is actually the Yuvraj, the Shri Krishna Narasingha Raj Wadiyar, is actually his brother. And later on, his son, the brother's son, took over the kingdom after the passing of Krishna Raja Wadiyar. And there is I don't know, many of you would know about this story about, ancestor of Krishna Raja Wadiyar, or that lineage, where, they fought with another kingdom, killed the king, and his wife ran with the ornaments, and there the soldiers followed her. And she, before they could capture her, she fell, I mean, she jumped into the river, and before jumping she gave a curse to this kingdom, that she said, so and so, and then finally she said that they will never have descendant. And it is called the curse of Mysore kingdom. It's a very famous Talakadi.
Yeah, it's a Talakad river, and that's where she said. And she said that, so there, I think the son is, the person is named after the grandfather. So he said anybody with your name will not have a child. So every second generation, they have to adopt somebody.
They adopt their nephew, and that is I think after 400 years, finally some kid was born recently or something. So it's a very interesting story, the curse of Talakad. And that king later on, made a golden statue of that lady, and even today that statue is prayed to, and because of that curse. Interesting. And also here, where Master is saying the Maharaja's College, University, Medical School, all this still exists, and these were created by this Krishna Raja Wadiyar. He was a very progressive ruler. So then Mr. Wright beautifully describes the place. Again, now he says that the Krishna Raja Sagar Dam. So again, this is also very interesting, that before his Diwan, Mirza Ismail, there was another Diwan. His name was Vishweshwaraya. Many of you, if you are engineer, and all of us know that, even today in India, every year we celebrate Engineers Day. Vishweshwaraya was a civil engineer. He created a lot of things, so even today he's celebrated as an Engineers Day. Krishna Raja Sagar Dam was one of his creation. He was Diwan before Mirza Ismail. So that's another tidbit as we go forward. And even all this, the dam and that musical, the lake, that his artificial lake that he's talking about, and beautiful garden. And now unfortunately, it is run by the government, right? So we went a few years back, and then the musical garden, what that he's describing here, it looks so beautiful. But then probably we are now spoiled, because we have seen much more laser lights, and also we were like, oh, what is this types, but we are talking 1935, where nothing like this existed. It must have been really majestic and beautiful at that time. So okay. And again, when he's talking about Hyderabad, Ellora and Ajanta are now in Maharashtra. In those days, the kingdom, it must have been in the kingdom of the Hyderabad state. And that is why he's describing it as part of Hyderabad state, right? Okay. So these are all interesting facts. We can go sometime and visit. Now we come to that part where Alexander and that Dandamis thing is there, where he sends this guy and says that, either you come or, then you will be given wealth, or he will cut off your head. Dandamis doesn't care. Again, when we are talking, he's saying, oh, teacher of Brahmins. He's not talking about the caste Brahmin. Brahmin is somebody who's one with Brahma, right? So that is why, he was self-realized. And so, just a statement that, you come, you will be awarded or you will be killed. And he gave a long lecture to him saying that, I mean, seriously, I don't really care. And he's no God, because if he was, he wouldn't be doing what he's. Dandamis has not moved out of his little forest, but he knew who was Alexander, what all he had done, how many people he must have killed, how many, families he must have destroyed. So he's sitting here, he knew it all. How did he know? Because he was one with Brahma, he knew. So he's saying that, Supreme King, never the author of insolent wrong, but is a creator of light, of peace, of life, of water, or of the body of man and soul. He alone is a God of my homage, who abhors slaughter and instigates no war. It's very important. And he says that, how can he call himself God when, as the world's master? Who is a master? Very clear. Somebody who's seated himself on a throne of inner universal dominion. Somebody who's self-realized. Only they can call themselves master. World's master, this whole creation's master. He says, who is he? Or no, neither as yet has he entered living into Hades. What does that mean? Hades is that, Patal Lok, what we call. And only a saint, there are saints who have, when they leave with their body, right? Some of them go with their body. They can carry their body into that world. Can he? No, he can't. So if Alexander's present dominion is be not capacious enough for his desire, and he is also not challenging him, that because Alexander till now he was winning wars. Only when he came into India is when, he just couldn't cross over. So that is why he's giving him a challenge. Tell him to cross over to the Ganga river. He will get his match. In fact, even what they say that, Porus, he had won over Porus, and then he excused him. That was a theory. Now they're saying that was not possible, because it was not characteristic of him to let go anybody. So he was actually he didn't win. Porus was the one who won. And when, what the opposite, later on we will come to know what warfare they were, the Sanatan Dharmis they fight. So if somebody lets go and says that, I don't want to fight further, they will let go. We will go into that later. So anyways, so he says, know this, however, what he offers as gifts, I don't care, because, I live this, I'm a king of this place. I live on leaves. I get, the earth takes care of me. And if he cuts my head, so be it. He's non-attached to this body, so be it. I'll go back to my God. Doesn't matter. So don't come and give me all this thing that, I will be awarded. I don't need anything that he can give me when I am the king of this universe, kind of, and you kill, go, tell him to go, tell Alexander this. Dandamis has no need of aught that is yours, and therefore will not go to you. And if you want anything from Dandamis, you come to him. For Alexander, this was all new. So, and he says that, when he's saying that, when I lie down on the forest leaves, I sleep. I have a beautiful, tranquil sleep. He can sleep. Alexander can't. At that time, when, as I was saying, they have fought all over the place. They have crossed Europe and Africa, got into West Asia, and come here. His soldiers are all tired. They're done with fighting. And here, as soon as they came, and Porus's army was like all elephants. They had never encountered elephants. They were killed. So, there was a lot of people ready to betray him, kill him, and go. They had enough. They were away from the family for so long and all. So Alexander was always on the lookout. Somebody might kill him. Whereas Dandamis, all that he had to do was sleep, and he would sleep when he wanted to sleep. because there's nothing anybody can take away from him. Not even his body is not attached to his body, so he doesn't care for anything. So now we can go for the next part of this. We'll read and then again discuss.
Question. Which be the more numerous, the living or the dead? Answer. The living, for the dead are not. Question. Which breeds the larger animals, the sea or the land? Answer. The land, for the sea is only part of land. Question. Which is the cleverest of beasts? Answer. That one with which man is not yet acquainted. Man fears the unknown. Question. Which existed first, the day or the night? Answer. The day was first by one day. This reply caused Alexander to betray surprise. The Brahmin added, Impossible questions require impossible answers. Question. How best may a man make himself beloved? Answer. A man will be beloved if, possessed with great power, he still does not make himself feared. Question. How may a man become a god? Answer. By doing that which it is impossible for a man to do. Question. Which is stronger, life or death? Answer. Life, because it bears so many evils. Alexander succeeded in taking out of India as his teacher a true yogi. This man was Swami Spines, called Kalanos by the Greeks, because the saint, a devotee of God in the form of Kali, greeted everyone by pronouncing her auspicious name. Kalanos accompanied Alexander to Persia. On a stated day at Susa in Persia, Kalanos gave up his aged body by entering a funeral pyre in view of the whole Macedonian army. The historians record the astonishment of the soldiers who observed that the yogi had no fear of pain or death, and who never once moved from his position as he was consumed in the flames. Before leaving for his cremation, Kalanos had embraced all his close companions, but refrained from bidding farewell to Alexander, to whom the Hindu sage had merely remarked, I shall see you shortly in Babylon. Alexander left Persia and died a year later in Babylon. His Indian guru's words had been his way of saying he would be present with Alexander in life and death. The Greek historians have left us many vivid and inspiring pictures of Indian society. The Hindu law, Aryan tells us, protects the people and, quote, ordains that no one among them shall under any circumstances be a slave, but that enjoying freedom themselves, they shall respect the equal right to it which all possess. For those, they thought, who have learned neither to domineer nor to cringe to others, will attain the life best adapted for all vicissitudes of lot. End quote. The Indians, runs another text, neither put out money at usury, nor know how to borrow. It is contrary to established usage for an Indian either to do or suffer a wrong, and therefore they neither make contracts nor require securities. Healing, we are told, was by simple and natural means. Quote, cures are effected rather by regulating diet than by the use of medicines. The remedies most esteemed are ointments and plasters. All others are considered to be, in great measure, pernicious. Engagement in war was restricted to the Khatris or warrior caste. Quote, nor would an enemy coming upon a husbandman at his work on his land do him any harm, for men of this class, being regarded as public benefactors, are protected from all injury, the land thus remaining unravaged and producing heavy crops, supplies the inhabitants with the requisites to make life enjoyable. The Emperor Chandragupta, who in 305 BC had defeated Alexander's general Seleucus, decided 7 years later to hand over the reins of India's government to his son. Traveling to South India, Chandragupta spent the last years of his life as a penniless ascetic, seeking self-realization in a rocky cave at Sravana-Belagola, now honored as a Mysore shrine. Nearby stands the world's largest statue, carved out of an immense boulder by the Jains in AD 983 to honor the saint Gomateshwar. The ubiquitous religious shrines of Mysore are a constant reminder of the many great saints of South India. One of these masters, Theomalnavar, has left us the following challenging poem. You can control a mad elephant. You can shut the mouth of the bear and the tiger. You can ride a lion. You can play with the cobra. By alchemy you can eke out your livelihood. You can wander through the universe incognito. You can make vassals of the gods. You can be ever youthful. You can walk on water and live in fire. But control of the mind is better and more difficult. In the beautiful and fertile state of Travancore in the extreme south of India, where traffic is conveyed over rivers and canals, the Maharaja assumes every year a hereditary obligation to expiate the sins incurred by wars and the annexation in the distant past of several petty states to Travancore. For 56 days annually, the Maharaja visits the temple thrice daily to hear Vedic hymns and recitations. The expiation ceremony ends with the Lakshadipam, or illumination of the temple, by 100,000 lights. The great Hindu lawgiver Manu has outlined the duties of a king. Quote, he should shower amenities like Indra, the Lord of gods, collect taxes gently and imperceptibly, as the sun obtains vapor from water, enter into the life of his subjects as the wind goes everywhere, mete out even justice to all like Yama, the god of death, bind transgressors in a noose like Varuna, the Vedic deity of sky and wind, please all like the moon, burn up vicious enemies like the god of fire, and support all like the earth goddess. In war a king should not fight with poisonous or fiery weapons, nor kill weak or unready or weaponless foes, or men who are in fear, or who pray for protection, or who run away. War should be resorted to only as a last resort. Results are always doubtful in war. End quote. Madras Presidency, on the southeast coast of India, contains the flat, spacious, sea-girt city of Madras and Conjeeveram, the Golden City, capital site of the Pallava dynasty, whose kings ruled during the early centuries of the Christian era. In modern Madras Presidency, the non-violent ideals of Mahatma Gandhi have made great headway. The white distinguishing Gandhi caps are seen everywhere. In the South, generally, the Mahatma has effected many important temple reforms for untouchables, as well as caste system reforms. The origin of the caste system, formulated by the great legislator Manu, was admirable. He saw clearly that men are distinguished by natural evolution into 4 great classes: those people capable of offering service to society through their bodily labor, Shudras; those who serve through mentality, skill, agriculture, trade, commerce, business life, and in general the Vaishyas, those whose talents are administrative, executive, and protective, rulers and warriors, Kshatriyas, those of contemplative nature, spiritually inspired and inspiring, Brahmins. Quote, neither birth, nor sacraments, nor study, nor ancestry can decide whether a person is twice born, that is to say, a Brahmin. The Mahabharata declares, character and conduct only can decide. Manu instructed society to show respect to its members insofar as they possessed wisdom, virtue, age, kinship, or, lastly, wealth. Riches in Vedic India were always despised if they were hoarded or unavailable for charitable purposes. Ungenerous men of great wealth were assigned a low rank in society. Serious evils arose when the caste system became hardened through the centuries into a hereditary halter. Social reformers like Gandhi and the members of very numerous societies in India today are making slow but sure progress in restoring the ancient values of caste based solely on natural qualifications and not on birth. Every nation on earth has its own distinctive misery-producing karma to deal with and remove. India, too, with her versatile and invulnerable spirit, shall prove herself equal to the task of caste reformation. So entrancing is southern India that Mr. Wright and I yearned to prolong our idyll. But time, in its immemorial rudeness, dealt us no courteous extensions. I was scheduled soon to address the concluding session of the Indian Philosophical Congress at Calcutta University. At the end of the visit to Mysore, I enjoyed a talk with Sir C.V. Raman, President of the Indian Academy of Sciences. This brilliant Hindu physicist was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1930 for his important discovery in the diffusion of light, the Raman effect now known to every schoolboy. Waving a reluctant farewell to a crowd of Madras students and friends, Mr. Wright and I set out for the north. On the way we stopped before a little shrine sacred to the memory of Sadashiva Brahman, in whose 18th century life story miracles cluster thickly. A large Sadashiva shrine at Nerur, erected by the Raja of Pudukkottai, is a pilgrimage spot which has witnessed numerous divine healings. Many quaint stories of Sadashiva, a lovable and fully illumined master, are still current among the South Indian villagers. Immersed one day in Samadhi on the bank of the Kaveri River, Sadashiva was seen to be carried away by a sudden flood. Weeks later he was found buried deep beneath a mound of earth. As the villagers' shovels struck his body, the saint rose and walked briskly away. Sadashiva never spoke a word or wore a cloth. One morning the nude yogi unceremoniously entered the tent of a Mohammedan chieftain. His lady screamed in alarm. The warrior dealt a savage sword thrust at Sadashiva, whose arm was severed. The master departed unconcernedly. Overcome by remorse, the Mohammedan picked up the arm from the floor and followed Sadashiva. The yogi quietly inserted his arm into the bleeding stump. When the warrior humbly asked for some spiritual instruction, Sadashiva wrote with his finger on the sands, "Do not do what you want, and then you may do what you like." The Mohammedan was uplifted to an exalted state of mind and understood the saint's paradoxical advice to be a guide to soul freedom through mastery of the ego. The village children once expressed a desire in Sadashiva's presence to see the Madura religious festival 150 miles away. The yogi indicated to the little ones that they should touch his body. Lo, Instantly the whole group was transported to Madura. The children wandered happily among the thousands of pilgrims. In a few hours the yogi brought his small charges home by his simple mode of transportation. The astonished parents heard the vivid tales of the procession of images and noted that several children were carrying bags of Madura sweets. An incredulous youth derided the saint and the story. The following morning he approached Sadashiva. "Master," he said scornfully, "why did you take me to the festival even as you did yesterday for the other children?" Sadashiva complied. The boy immediately found himself among the distant city throng. But, alas, where was the saint when the youth wanted to leave? The weary boy reached his home by the ancient and prosaic method of foot locomotion.
Okay. So here we have a lot of things to discuss. So where Aryan never visited India, where this is page number 376. He took from Megasthenes and other Greeks who had visited, and from that he wrote down what he has understood. So Greek historians have left many vivid and inspiring pictures of Indian society. One very important for Greek and all the others, even very recently, even America for that matter, they had the slave system, right? Whoever was based on the race or the color was then the ruler, and they took slaves. So in Greece, that was a very important, that was the culture of having. So they noticed this, that in India, he said, Hindu law protects the people and ordains no one among them shall, under any circumstance, be a slave, but that enjoying freedom themselves, they shall respect the equal right to it, which all possess. And also, he says that under such people, like, who are neither, they don't want to dominate over anyone or cringe to others, will attain the life best adapted for all vicissitudes, any circumstances they can live. Another thing they're saying, Indians neither put out money at Osuri or know how to borrow. So there was no borrowing. Nobody was, there was no lending. This was never, if somebody wanted money, people, if I want to give, you give. That is why it's saying people were generous. And it worked on, there was no contract. There was no, you don't need, if I take money from somebody, I don't need to keep a security. I give. And then I don't expect it back. It is not like, it's not borrowing. They don't have to give it back to me. And very importantly, he said healing was by simple natural means. Cures are effected rather by regulating diet than by the use of medicines. Ointments and plasters and, the massages, the Ayurveda. So, and very importantly, they're saying all others are considered to be in great measure pernicious, which means harmful. These days, we need to be very careful, because people are popping pills. For cold, you have something. For this, ho gaya, wo ho gaya, ye ho gaya. Pills are taking over here. We are talking before, the invasion started coming from the west side. People were living through Ayurveda, through regulating diet, the sattvic diet and all that. They were following all this. Engagement in war was restricted to again, they were very careful. Kshatriyas, it is their dharma to fight. And between kings, they will fight because they want to increase their, kingdom and expand their kingdom. But a Kshatriya always only fought with a Kshatriya. So in case, that king is coming with his army to attack this, and if there is a farmer working on they wouldn't harm him. Nothing, he says, nor would an enemy coming upon a husbandman at his work on his land, which means the farmer, do him any harm. For men of this class being regarded as public benefactors are protected from all. So the Kshatriyas will fight among themselves. The army will fight, everything will happen. And if the enemy takes over, for the persons of that who are Vaishyas and who are farmers, they are not affected. not affected. I mean, okay, they will be whatever is that this king, he's good or not good, that's a different thing. But they are, I mean, these days wars, when the wars are happening, they threw bombs on cities, the lands are destroyed. I mean, it's really sad, no, the way the whole world has gone. Even India has fallen into. The land thus remaining unravaged and producing heavy crops supplies the inhabitants with requisites to make life enjoyable. So warfare was very different, unlike what it is today. And when he's talking about Chandragupta, Emperor Chandragupta, he followed, the 4 stages. So when he grew old, he handed over his kingdom and he went off. The brahmacharya, the grihastha, and then vanprastha, and lastly the sannyas. So that's what he's saying, that in the last 12 years he lived like a penniless ascetic. There is a temple, this place that he's talking about, Shravana Belagola, there is a temple for Chandragupta. Small temple, which is, he says, near the Gomateshwar. It's a huge statue of Gomateshwar, which the Jains revere. So this was followed. This kind of, and these days, if we look at it, we have gone after what the Western world has told. People never seem to be retiring, never seem to let go of, taking decisions for the kids and always being involved with the kids too much. So these were ingrained from the start, these 4 stages of life for each one of us. It's a good way to get back to for each one of us. The next, he's talking about Tayumanavar. He lived in that Tiruchirappalli region, where he was, there's a beautiful, even today, the poems and the songs he has written are, recited, and it's preserved even today. And now he talks about the state of Travancore, and the temple that he's talking about is the Padmanabha Swami temple in that place, where he says that the Maharaja, we all know that Padmanabha Swami temple, which had those, very recently they tried to open the treasury of that place, the rooms that were closed, and that those were donated by the Rajas to the temple. In fact, it is considered that the temple, Padmanabha Swami is the king of that area. The Raja is just the, he is ruling on his behalf. And it's a beautiful thing that the Raja does every year. He conducts all these things to, let go of the sin that he has given. Again, Manu, the Hindu lawgiver, he has given how a king, I mean, if he has talked about everything, right? He has given about how each one of us, an individual, has to live, the 4 stages of life, how a king has to rule, give like shower like Indra. Indra is the rain god, shower everywhere. No, I mean, there is no discrepancy, nothing to here, I will pour more there. Whole place will get rain equally. There are no likes and dislikes for him. Collect taxes, they have to collect taxes too, because they have to run the thing. But again, as the sun obtains vapor aram se it goes up, right? It is not like you have to come up, that is your job. So it's like, again, it is encouraging the water to become water vapor. And so he is given exactly how a king should take care. So he has to be benevolent. He has to look at everyone as equal and take care of his whole kingdom. In a war, as I was just mentioning about Puru, this is what had actually happened. In a war, a king should not fight with poisonous or fiery weapons, or kill weak or unready, weaponless foes, or men who are in fear, or who pray for protection, or who run away. So the thing that they are saying is that they couldn't take it, because the Puru and his army were fighting with elephants, and they had never faced elephants. So those guys were on horsebacks, and they were dying. The war elephants were just trampling over the army. So Alexander had, requested him that, let us let go of this war. And that is why, you immediately, that is what the law of Manu says, that somebody who's put down his weapon, you don't say, no, I will kill you, because, I won, that's it. So immediately he also put it down. And And here again, he's talking about the caste system, where he says that originally what Manu had said is not by birth. You're not a Brahmin or a Kshatriya by birth as a right because I was born into that family, but because of how my consciousness is, or my how I have a natural ability for. So he says clearly that men are distinguished by natural evolution. Those capable of offering service to the society became the Shudras. They were the ones who worked in the fields and did all the service, the work. The one who were traders and all, they were naturally good at that thing. They were Vaishyas, and those who were naturally a warrior kinds, they were Kshatriyas, and those who were contemplating and spiritually inspired and inspiring were Brahmins. He said very, very clearly is given neither birth nor sacraments nor study nor ancestry can decide whether a person is twice born, which is a Brahmin. And Mahabharata declares character and conduct are the only deciders. And also, this is also so beautiful. He says that the society to show respect to its member insofar as they possess, what is the first thing that should be given importance is wisdom. Somebody who is wise. Then comes somebody who is virtuous. And then the age, if somebody is, older, so you give respect to somebody who's older. Kinship, after that only comes kinship, your relatives. And lastly, wealth. Now you look at it, it's the other way around. Somebody who is, wealthy gets it all. Riches in Vedic India were always despised if they were hoarded or unavailable for charitable purpose. Those people with great wealth, but who were ungenerous, he's saying were assigned a low rank in society. I mean, so much has changed, no? I think time to get back. Because why? What had happened is over a period of time, we sank down to dark ages. So here, again, let us come back to this point of caste system. What Master also told us is like, the 4 yugas, the dark age is the yuga of, the Kali Yuga is the age of people with very low vibration, consciousness is very low. What they see is what they believe, the material consciousness, that is a Shudra mentality, right? And when somebody is very transactional, you give me, I give it, it's energetic, right? That is the Dwapar Yuga, that is Vaishya. And the Kshatriya is one who is like, I will take care of you, that kind of a person, that mentality, and that comes in Treta Yuga, which means a larger consciousness of the planet is like that. And lastly, the Sat Yuga, where the larger consciousness is like, being one with God, or Brahmins, the one who is more in tune with the divine itself. So there was this yogi who was living in the Himalayas, and some people from Ananda only, when they had gone on a pilgrimage, they had gone and met. He was very old, I think more than 100 years old, a small man, very, very sweet. And somebody just asked him, which yuga are we living in, master? And he said, aapka to mujhe pata nahi, but I am in Satyug. So he says, I don't know about you, I am in Satyug, which means that, every yuga, I mean, even in Kali Yuga, there were saints, right? Who were, so the whole point is to rise above all this. Even these 4 varnas, we need to rise above it. And through the day, as we are progressing through the day, there are some decisions that we may take, which is like, I, me, myself. What about me? That is, we had that consciousness of a Shudra. And when with some people or some situation, we were very transactional. You give me, I give you. That was our consciousness of a Vaishya. And with some, probably with our kids, we are like, I will do for him, I will do for him. And the last thing is, when we do something, when we tune back to our master or to God and say, what do you want me to do in this situation? That is the Brahmin consciousness. And that is what in every transaction, we should have. That highest goal is to have the Brahmin consciousness. So at the end of the day, as about Master said, always introspect what happened through the day. How did I? What did they? As Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya. So what did they? What did I do? during, I mean, how did I operate? At what consciousness was I operating during the day? I think this can be our takeaway where we can work with this. So during the day, with every situation, what was my consciousness? Where was I operating? And then, correct it. The next day, we can try to correct it or be a little bit better than what we was. That, as I said, the target is always to be a Brahmin, where what does God want me to do? What does my master? So practicing that, what is God's will in this, rather than I will do this. So let that be our takeaway for the week, or for weeks for that matter. So now, but he's saying that serious evils came when, it became hardened to family. This family, this person was born in that family, so he's a Brahmin. It is not so. That is not how it all started when Manu had given it. Okay, so now the last, he also met C.V. Raman, and the last, this Sadashiva Brahman. There is this place, Nerur, no, where that's a place he took Jiva Samadhi. So Jiva Samadhi is where with the body they enter a place, and they ask, you just close that place. So as a Jiva Samadhi, they enter into their Mahasamadhi. Now, then that is where the Raja of Pudukkottai, so I was just researching Sadashiva Brahman, and Raja of Pudukkottai came and asked him for Diksha, he took him as his guru. So, and the Sadashiva Brahman didn't speak, right? He was a Mauni Baba. So on the sand, he wrote him Dakshinamurti mantra. And that Raja is, he took that sand in his dhotika, Angavastra, and he took it back home to his palace. And even today, the family of that Raja prays to that pot of sand that he had brought. And again, one more interesting thing is what is said is that, he took the Jiva Samadhi in Nerur, and at the same time, 4 other places his Samadhi came. I don't know what that means. There was one in, I think, Madurai, one Madamadurai is what they say. One was Omkareshwar, one Puri, and one in Karachi. I don't know whether it still exists there, or they must be praying as a Sufi saint or something. I don't know. But that all these places it came because he was, to some disciple asked, so that is why he appeared. And they also say that this is because at each place he dropped one of the elements, the Panchabhuta that they say. So in every place, these 5 places, each place he dropped one. At one place he left the physical body, the next he left the subtle body, the astral body. In that way he went. I will send some links. Very, very interesting, these things, what has been mentioned. And even that story of this, that Mohammedan cutting off. So that when he asked, you give me, tell me something, and he says, do not do what you want, and then you may do what you like. So how when you do something what you want is when the ego is telling us, I like this, I want to do this, I want. So when we do act according to how the ego is telling us, it is binding us, right? And when we stop doing that, when we don't listen to the ego, he was one with Brahma, right? That is why he got that title of Brahman. So where he was one with Brahma, he was always in that samadhi state where he was washed away, and then he just walked off. So he was in that samadhi state. You are one with this Brahma. You just walk where you like, because it really didn't matter. It didn't matter to him where he entered. When that Mohammedan cut his hand, he didn't even realize, because he was one with Brahman. Nothing mattered. And he gave it back, he put it back. Didn't matter again. So then you may do what you like. That is what it means. When you are one with Brahma, then you do what you like. Is not something, again, egoistically like, but kuch bhi nahi farak padta hai. That is how you live then. So, and then that story is also very sweet, of this children being transported to Madurai, and then they come back. So it's a very sweet chapter, very nice chapter with too many nice things. I have taken some links. I will forward it to that place, to that group. So thank you for joining today. So we will do the takeaway that we did. Watch ourselves through the day, and especially at the night before going off to sleep. Introspect. Watch. Go through. Sift through the day's events and see which consciousness did we display in that particular situation. So with that, thank you for joining. See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Guru. It's lovely.
Thank